It was supposed to be a flawless evening. A billionaire CEO, eager to secure a $3.5 billion merger, dined at one of the city's most prestigious restaurants. Every detail had been arranged: the lighting, the menu, the private room, even the perfect bottle of wine. But in a matter of seconds, his arrogance would shatter it all. When a young black waitress approached his table, what he said would not only humiliate her, but ignite a chain of events no one in the room could have predicted. That night, a single cruel word cost him more than money. It destroyed his reputation forever. Marcus Trent was a man who seemed untouchable. Known across Wall Street as a ruthless billionaire, he built his empire on aggressive acquisitions and flawless timing. Now he was on the verge of closing his biggest deal yet, a $3.5 billion partnership with a global investment group. The final negotiations had been grueling, but tonight's dinner was supposed to seal the agreement. All he had to do was maintain composure, charm his partners, and project confidence. The restaurant chosen for the evening was one of the most exclusive in the city, a place where a single table reservation required months of waiting, and a meal could rival a month's salary for the average worker. The staff were trained to perfection, polished, graceful, and discreet. For the investors joining Marcus, it was meant to be a night of celebration, a symbolic beginning to a historic business alliance. Among the Wint staff that evening was Maya, a 25-year-old black woman who had been working tirelessly to support her younger siblings while finishing her degree. To her, the job wasn't glamorous, it was survival. She had learned to stay professional, even when customers dismissed her, mocked her accent, or treated her as invisible. When she stepped into Marcus's private dining room carrying a tray of hors d'oeuvres, she didn't expect her presence to matter. But for Marcus, whose ego often thrived on belittling others, Maya became the easiest target in the room. The investors were watching him closely, and he wanted to assert dominance. What no one in that private dining hall realized was that his arrogance would trigger the collapse of everything he had spent decades building. The dinner began smoothly. Crystal glasses reflected the soft glow of chandeliers, laughter flowed, and the air buzzed with the tension of money about to change hands. The investors were seasoned men, cautious, measuring Marcus's every word, every gesture. They admired his empire, but questioned his character. As Maya moved gracefully between tables, Marcus saw an opportunity. When she brought out the wine, an expensive French vintage, he smirked and made a remark loud enough for the investors to hear. "Careful with that, girl. Don't spill it. These bottles cost more than your paycheck." Maya, trained to smile through anything, kept her composure, but his words stung. The investors exchanged uneasy glances. One of them, a man from a family that prided itself on ethical business, shifted uncomfortably. Still, Marcus wasn't done. When Maya accidentally placed a side plate slightly off-center, he scoffed. "Are you stupid? How hard is it to set a table properly?" His tone cut like a blade, mocking, dismissive, and degrading. The room went quiet. The investors froze. Maya's eyes flickered with humiliation, but she stood tall, whispering an apology before stepping back. To her, it was another wound in a lifetime of quiet endurance. To the investors, it was a revelation. Marcus thought he was displaying authority. Instead, he was exposing the very flaw they feared: his inability to respect those he deemed beneath him. As the dinner continued, the investors' enthusiasm faded. Their smiles grew tight, their questions sharper. They noticed every dismissive glance Marcus gave to the staff, every arrogant comment, every careless show of superiority. He believed his wealth placed him above basic decency. They saw something far worse, a liability. Behind closed doors, these investors had strict policies on diversity and workplace equality. They funded charities for underprivileged youth, spoke at conferences about social responsibility, and understood the cultural climate shifting against corporate arrogance. Partnering with Marcus now carried a risk beyond money. It could stain their reputation. Meanwhile, Maya finished her shift in silence, her heart heavy, but her spirit unbroken. She had endured countless nights like this one, but she didn't yet know that her quiet resilience had just exposed the true character of a billionaire. By dessert, the investors had already made their minds. Marcus wouldn't get the deal. The final blow came when one of the investors, an older man with silver hair and calm eyes, excused himself from the table. He requested a quiet word with the restaurant manager. His concern wasn't about the food, the service, or the wine. It was about the waitress, the young woman Marcus had humiliated. The manager confirmed what the investor already suspected. Maya was one of the most hard-working staff members they had, reliable, professional, and admired by her colleagues. The incident with Marcus wasn't unusual. Too many guests treated staff poorly, but never had it been so cruel, so public, so unnecessary. When the investor returned to the table, the energy had shifted completely. He looked at Marcus and then at his partners. The decision was silent, but unanimous. By the time coffee was served, the deal was dead. The investors thanked Marcus for his hospitality, but their words were curt, their smiles forced. As they stood to leave, one of them leaned closer and said, almost under his breath, "Respect is worth more than money." Marcus didn't grasp the weight of it immediately. He believed negotiations would continue tomorrow, but tomorrow never came. Within 24 hours, the $3.5 billion partnership was officially withdrawn. News spread quickly across financial circles. Reporters soon pieced together whispers of the dinner incident. What should have been Marcus's greatest triumph became his most humiliating downfall. He had built an empire on wealth, but in a single moment of arrogance, he revealed his bankruptcy of character. And the waitress he called stupid, she became the silent witness to the undoing of a billionaire. In the weeks that followed, Marcus's empire began to crumble. Without the merger, investors pulled back, stocks dipped, and his competitors smelled blood in the water. The man once hailed as unstoppable now carried the stain of arrogance. And meanwhile, the story of that night spread quietly, not through tabloids, but through boardrooms, whispered as a cautionary tale. Executives warned each other, character matters, arrogance kills deals. Maya continued her work at the restaurant, unaware at first of the storm she had inadvertently triggered. But eventually, word reached her. One of the investors had privately thanked the manager for her professionalism and ensured she received a scholarship fund to complete her degree. She didn't just endure humiliation that night. She became the reason a corporation chose integrity over greed. The lesson was clear. In an age where every action is scrutinized, where values and ethics weigh as heavily as profits, the smallest act of disrespect can destroy everything. Marcus thought his billions made him untouchable, but power built on arrogance is fragile, crumbling the moment the world sees the truth. For anyone listening to this story, the takeaway lingers like an echo. Respect is not optional. It is the foundation of every lasting success. And so the question remains, what do we truly lose when we choose arrogance over kindness? Sometimes the price isn't just money. Sometimes it's everything.